We're about to look at more train crashes, people. This time it is the Fox River Grove incident 23 years later. Or 25 because this is 2018. Can we get at least one like on this video? Just one like, just one like. That'd help me a lot. So without further ado, let's get it on.
Picture this. You're on a school bus going to school in the early morning. You're suddenly stopped by a red light.
Nothing new.
The railroad crossings suddenly activate at a nearby crossing.
Uh-huh.
What you don't realize, though, is part of your bus is hanging over part of the tracks. You then hear the gate arm slap the rear end of your bus as it comes down. Then you look toward the track and see a 70-mile-per-hour commuter train with no way to stop as it heads toward you.
I wonder if that happens
Sounds
often.
like quite the nightmare, huh? Well, that nightmare was reality for a bunch of high school students in Fox River Grove, Illinois. On October 25th, 1995, Metra Express 624 is departing Crystal Lake Station, bound for Chicago. It departs at 7 a.m. right on time. 624 is often known as the Flyer, since it skips most stations at over 90 miles an hour as it heads down the Windy City.
Those
However,
old
the
thing.
buses at Crystal Lake School District were not having such morning luck. Most of the buses were departing on time at around 6:15 a.m., but the driver for School Bus 103 that was supposed to run Route 47/155 to Cary Grove High School didn't show up for work, so 54-year-old Patricia Kattenkamp, a safety supervisor, would have to substitute that day. She had prior experience with bus driving, but she was still rather new to this route.
So,
By
wait,
the time she was
how
ready
you
to
knew
leave,
if you have
the bus was
experience
already
is either
20 minutes late.
you've never done it
It
before,
was a rather
or you've done
close
it, but you haven't done it in a
so some of
while.
the students still waiting
And this is like a
outside
new, different
had to
kind of vehicle
quote-unquote
that you
huddle
have never
together to
dealt with
keep
before.
warm. The first two kids were
Oh, was it
picked up
freezing?
at
I
the
wasn't paying
first
attention.
stop at 6:55
Is that a
a.m.
white stop sign?
The
Did they
two
have that
would
in the
help her
90s?
guide her through the route, so she knew exactly where to go. By 7:05, the roads were backing up with the typical rush hour traffic. As for 624, it was flying down the tracks at 60 miles an hour with no traffic stopping. At 7:10, the last of 39 kids finally got on the bus.
Somebody left confetti on the
Now
bus.
it was time to get to school. Freshman John Apson sat in the third
Speed
row
limit
after
30?
sophomore Joe Calty, who stated that the back
In a
was for
neighborhood like that?
upperclassmen like himself, and the front was for freshies.
Yeah, it
like
must not have
John.
been worried about the kids.
That little move would prove critical later. Seconds later, the train and bus's paths had to intersect at the Algonquin Road railroad crossing. They were approaching it around the same time, but the bus got there first. Kattenkamp stopped, looked, and listened, but she said she saw no train coming and
Right.
proceeded across. But immediately after she started moving, a red traffic light stopped her at the other side of the crossing at an intersection. Behind the bus was Jim Hummela. He was stopped behind the bus and noticed a headlight from the approaching Metra. Suddenly, the crossings activate, warning of the oncoming Metra. Jim was rather concerned about where the bus was stopped, and he noticed the gate slap the buses from behind. Then Jim knew something was
I'm
wrong.
pretty sure if
Three
somebody
drivers
is
of
there
the
in
bus's
attendance
back
like they
hung
should,
over the tracks,
they
and the
will
flyer is going full
lift the thing
speed
back up
towards it.
so the bus
The
can
engineers
go.
and the
Because
students
other than
are
that,
now
you're stuck.
facing
Is
one of
nobody
the worst
there?
nightmares possible. The
Or do the things
engineers
just work by
slam on the
themselves? I'm
brakes,
pretty sure
close the
somebody
door,
is
and
there to
pray the bus got out of the way. The kids at first joked
control
about the
that.
situation, but when they saw how fast the train was approaching them, they began to panic and scream at the back of the bus.
As
Then
people
Jim
would.
realized that
Flyer coming through.
the kids were freaking out. They were screaming, "There's a train coming! There's a train coming! Move, move!"
But they had enough
Some
time to
miners tried to
like
make
get out
efforts to
like
get out of the bus on
in
their
the
own.
front door
Jim
and
Hummela behind the
in
bus
that
was
in
yelling,
the
"Go!
emergency exit.
Go! Go!" Patricia Cattencamp, however, was confused from the screaming and didn't understand.
How?
Sadly, no one's prayers.
How did you not
were
hear
answered.
anybody say train, 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 train? I'm pretty sure anybody could understand train.
Metro 624 T-bones the bus at over 40 miles an hour. The force of the impact shears the whole passenger compartment off the chassis of the bus, spinning it 180 degrees onto the side of the tracks.
Jeez.
The police chief, who witnessed the whole scene from the police station down the street, immediately called in as many officers as he could and requested EMTs to dispatch to the scene. Helen Gretschel, a nurse for the dying, ran out of the nearby coffee shop to help save some of the badly injured students.
Think it was
Rescuers worked
Starbucks?
frantically to free the students from the mangled wreck of what was once their bus, while anxious parents awaited the news of their kids' conditions. 5 kids died on impact, and 2 others died not long after the impact. One of them, Jeff Clark, was being treated by Helen with a turkey baster, trying to help him breathe by getting the blood out of his lungs, but he died in her arms. Tiffany Schneider, who was
At least you tried
Jeff's
doing
mom,
something.
also died. She had just gotten her first paycheck at her first job that would sadly never be checked in.
Yeah.
The sophomore, Joe Calty, who told freshman John to sit in the front, also died. He had car trouble that morning, and his decision to tell John to move up practically saved the freshman's life. 21 students suffered minor injuries, as did Patricia Cattencamp, the driver. So you gotta wonder, how could such a nightmare unfold on an average October morning? And why? Was it solely the driver's fault? The NTSB investigation found several factors to the crash. First off, the crossing was badly designed. These kind of intersections are known as interconnected crossings because of the need to link the railroad signals to the road signals to ensure safe passage.
You think they would check that before they were fully like
in that a larger
built?
vehicle could be trapped partially on the crossing while being
I mean, by the
held by
90s, you would
the
think they'd have that handled.
At the crossing itself, the distance between the crossing and the stop line was 30 feet. The bus, 38 feet long. If the driver realized this danger, she would have been forced to pull through the red light to clear the tracks when the crossing's activated. Some witnesses said there was a car preventing the bus from moving any forward, but investigators dismissed this theory as it was proven false. She could have pulled forward, but she didn't. Also, according to tests conducted by the NTSB, the warning lights on the railroad crossing activated 20 seconds before the arrival of the Metro train. However, the traffic lights clearing the rail intersection only allowed cars to clear 18 seconds after they activated, giving cars only 2 to 6 seconds to clear the tracks. Roadway signal timing was under the jurisdiction of Illinois Department of Transportation, while railway timing was under the jurisdiction of the Union Pacific. No communication took place between both parties regarding interconnected signal timings. It was reported that the crossings had originally been given a safe margin pass, but have been modified some months previously to allow a pedestrian crossing cycle, overlooking the possible consequences at the railroad crossing. The signal would rest in the walk indication for pedestrians during the morning commute period, but when a train is detected, this interval must be ended, which takes up about 12 seconds of the warning time as the train approached. Pedestrian volumes at this crosswalk were extremely light, according to a survey conducted by the village of Fox River Grove in May 1996. IDOT traffic engineers responsible for establishing signal timings should have recognized that in this particular case, resting in the walk carries substantial risk and virtually no benefit, and should have not allowed the traffic signal to rest in the pedestrian walk interval. If the traffic signal had not been serving the non-existent pedestrian, the bus would have had a green light 12 seconds earlier than it did, and the collision may have been avoided. In addition, the thumb wheel setting on the crossing processor that determines how long it takes before the crossing fully activates was reduced from 30 seconds to 25 seconds 2 weeks before the crash. Union Pacific officials, however, stated that the new value was still above the FRA's limit of 20 seconds. However, that doesn't excuse the driver from anything. Patricia Kattenkamp failed to properly judge the distance between the railroad tracks and the stop line at the traffic signal across the tracks. The failure of the judgment meant that around 3 inches of the back of the bus hung over the nearest rail, while the body of the Metro train extended 3 feet past the rail. All the injuries were sustained during this initial impact. Then, an interesting fact. The NTSB concluded that the traffic signal did turn green 6 seconds before the initial impact, but because Kattenkamp was so distracted by what she presumed was some crisis within the bus, she didn't see the light turn green. It was a final warning that never came through. In the end, the remains of the school bus were held at the McHenry County Evidence Pound in Heartland Township, but it eventually was hauled away for scrap. And new route designs brought the number of routes crossing railroad tracks in the District 47 and District 155 school systems down from 70% in 1996 to 10% in 1997. However, ever since the accident, Patricia Kattenkamp, the driver, would never drive a school bus again. But she still worked for the school district transportation division for another 5 years before retiring in 1999, then moving out of state. She never spoke publicly. Her friends, interviewed after the accident, said she was devastated. So was the train's engineer, Ford Dotston Jr., who wept during the 1996 NTSB hearing while recalling his inability to stop the train in time. A large granite memorial and 2 plaques were placed in memory of the 7 students killed in the crash near the site. The Fox River Grove Public Library was renamed the Fox River Grove Memorial Library, which includes an outdoor memorial seating area with the names of the 7 students. A memorial outside the high school the bus was headed to was also added. 23 years have passed since the accident.
25.
Bus routes now don't go over train tracks as often across the United States, so hopefully an accident like this never happens again.
Hi, I'm Rex Moore with the Motley Fool in front of
Skip! Okay, that's it. 96. And whatever year. And he couldn't keep that all together. That's a shame. Alright, please like this video if you enjoyed it. I'm gonna see you